I love Batman. He's one of the coolest superheroes of all time, and part of the reason for that is because of his costume. And with two new Batman movies just announced, I thought it would be a great time to look at and rate all of the times the Batsuit has been brought to the silver screen. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, let's take a look at every screen-used Batsuit ever. Batman serials, 1943, 1949. You know, a lot of people probably don't remember these, and to be honest, I wasn't 100% sure if I should even put them on the list in the first place. But I think they're noteworthy enough to include, so I'm going to go ahead and mention them. The serials Batman and Robin were the first times that we ever actually got to see the character on any screen at all. This is his first appearance in anything, and you know, obviously these suits aged just about as well as the serials did, to be honest. They look like a suit that you might wear on Halloween. But, you know, that's okay. These suits were made in a time where superheroes were a relatively new concept, and translating them into any sort of actual physical costume was not really something people knew how to do yet. And I mean, yeah, they look a little goofy today, and they definitely haven't aged all that well. But I think for the time, they're passable. And I mean, not to mention, they're also more comic accurate than anything the MCU has made in the past 5 years. I'm going to give these a 5 out of 10. Batman, 1966. This is the first ever wide release Batman movie to ever hit the silver screen, and obviously taking place in the same world as with the same actors as the 66 TV show. It also has the same suit. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of people talk about this suit and the show in general. And look, I know a lot of people like to dump on this design because it's pretty campy, but I think it's honestly pretty all right. It's miles better than the serial suits ever were, comic accurate to the time. And I mean, like I said, yeah, it's a little campy, but oh boy, are there worse things yet to come. So yeah, all that considered, I think I'll give this one a 6.5 out of 10. I think that's fair. All right, now it's time for the good stuff. Batman and Batman Returns, 1989 and 1992. And now let's get into it. The first ever wide release Batman movie that everyone actually tried taking seriously. This movie completely changed the game when it came to how the public viewed the character of Batman, and honestly, at the time, being one of the darkest depictions of the character that we had ever seen. And as you can see, that goes for the suit as well. This thing is all black, except for, you know, the little bit of yellow around the bat symbol and the gold utility belt. And I gotta be honest, this costume is pretty menacing and it looks great. I think this is a really great interpretation of the bat suit. The only major problem is the fact that Michael Keaton can't move his neck because the cowl's too stiff. So he either is forced to just not move his neck at all, or whip his entire body towards the direction of the person he's talking to, like a Scooby-Doo character. But even with that problem, it's still a great looking suit. 8 out of 10. Oh, hey, post-edit me here, just realizing there are technically two different Batsuits between the two Michael Keaton movies. They're basically the same thing. I think the one in Batman Returns just has a slightly different bat symbol and a tiny, differently shaped cowl, but they're basically the same suit, and my opinion of them is the same. 8 out of 10. All right, and now we're on to Batman Forever, 1995. With Tim Burton gone and Joel Schumacher at the helm, the series took a whole new direction, yet again, this time adding a slightly more comedic tone to the mix, and the Batsuit was also very heavily changed. It's now not entirely black, but rather more so on the gray side, and has a giant bat symbol as opposed to a small one, and the bat symbol itself is also not highlighted. But to be honest, while I don't like the suit quite as much as the Batman '89 look, I don't hate it either. It's a pretty good suit. I think the biggest problem with the suit, honestly, is that it just doesn't really mesh well with Robin's design from that movie. They just don't really feel like they were made by the same person. But, I mean, other than that, it's a pretty good Batsuit. I mean, I think it's fine. I'm going to just go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. Batman and Robin, 1997 base suit. Where do I even start with this monstrosity? At first glance, honestly, the suit isn't too bad. It has a couple of minor flaws, but honestly, it's pretty good. I'd even call it better than the Batman Forever suit. But then you take a look down at the chest. Who the hell decided to put nipples on his costume? You can tell they're not even slapped on there either. What they actually did, they got his exact measurements of George Clooney's chest, right? Figured out where his nipples would be, and then added silicone molds to where his nipples are so that they pop off of this chest. Why was this necessary? Who wanted this? Honestly, why? Why? Who did this? Who wanted a silicone mold of George Clooney's nipples on this thing? It's so distracting too, because it's really the only weird part of the costume. Honestly, the rest of it is fine. But this big glaring, or these two big glaring points are just staring at you the entire movie. And I will always hate the suit because of that. 3 out of 10. Alright, well, and now that we're done with that monstrosity, we can now take a look at the sister suit to this movie, which I've decided to dub the anti-freeze suit. And look at it. It's beautiful. This should have been the only suit in the movie. I mean, yeah, granted, it is a bit over-armored, especially in the legs, but I mean, look at it. It's got a great use of color balancing. It's really cool to actually see a batsuit use gray as the secondary color and black as the primary. That's something you don't get to see that often. I mean, this is a cool design. I don't know why this couldn't have just been the suit for the whole movie. I honestly, I mean, it's a really good suit. I feel bad that it got lumped together with that other thing. But yeah, I mean, the suit on its own, I give it a 7 out of 10. It's pretty solid. All right, and we have finally gotten out of the camp and into the serious for the rest of this saga. So let's get into Batman Begins 2005. And this movie, honestly, was a much needed refresh to the Batman movie formula and totally changed the way that we would think about Batman in cinema. But how's the suit? Honestly, probably one of the best bat suits we've ever gotten on the silver screen. I mean, it's all black, it's got a large bat symbol and very nice padding. It's not over designed or awful in really any way. There's not really anything bad I can say here, honestly. The only problem is there's not really anything stellar I can say here either. It's about what I would expect from a movie bat suit. But that is not a knock at it in any way. This suit is great. I mean, a little awkward looking on Christian Bale, but great nonetheless. It does its job and it does it well. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Alright, and now on to the sequels, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, 2008, 2012. Let me just start this off by saying I think The Dark Knight is a great movie. I love it. The actors, the story, all of it. It will all live on in the heart of Batman fans, and its impact will be felt for literal decades. Its suit sucks. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's good. The movie itself is fantastic, but the suit is not good. It looks really weird. It has way too many lines in it. I don't know what's going on. I mean, just look at those legs. Can you even count the amount of segmenting lines there are in it? I can't. I mean, the bat symbol is also impossible to see because of how small it is. It's also tucked in the crest of his pecs. And on top of that, it's way too form-fitting for Christian Bale. You know, like, in the first movie, he looked buff and menacing. Even if it was a little awkward, he looked like Batman. But here, he looks like he has a man bun and serves cappuccinos at Starbucks in his free time. I mean, I'm just really not a fan of this suit and what it does to Christian Bale's physique. I mean, if you want to talk about over-designed, this is the poster child for it. I'm going to give this thing a 5.5 out of 10. All right, well, now we're moving into the DCEU, so bear with me for a second. This is the suit from Batman vs. Superman 2016, Suicide Squad 2016, and Justice League 2017. And, the main suit for the DCU is actually pretty good. I mean, I don't really love it, but it's nice to see a fabric gray and black batsuit for the first time since 1949. I mean, granted, I think it does look a little bit plump on Ben Affleck, which is probably more Ben Affleck's fault than the suits, let's be honest. And the pattern on the gray fabric isn't that pleasing to the eye. It can be a bit distracting. But, it doesn't make me blow chunks or anything, so I think it gets a pass. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. All right, and now we're jumping back to the Batman vs. Superman movie from 2016 to talk about the final battle suit. And this is obviously the suit that Batman used in the climax of the movie to fight Superman. And man, this is a sick suit. I mean, it takes heavy inspiration from The Dark Knight Returns, obviously, as the whole Batman versus Superman aspect of it does. It looks ripped almost straight out of that comic. And I mean, it's great. It's very heavily armored, and it's also the first time that we actually don't see Batman's eyes on a live-action Batsuit. They finally gave us a suit where he has the white eyes, and then I don't think we ever saw it again afterwards. Honestly, the only big problem for me with the suit is the lack of the bat symbol, but then again, the source material didn't have it either, so it's not really a fault of this suit. But even that doesn't really bother me too much, so I really can only give this an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty good suit. Alright, and now we're moving on to the Justice League's Nightmare suit. This is the suit that Batman wears during the nightmare scene of the Justice League, and to be honest, I don't really know what to feel about this one. I mean, just look at this. Does this look like Batman to you? I mean, he has a trench coat, he's holding a gun. I mean, he looks more like Rambo than Batman. It just seems very strange to me and honestly kind of unnecessary. It feels like the trench coat and the goggles, which I'm noticing aren't pictured in this image for some reason, are just kind of a gimmick to make him feel edgy. I don't know. I mean, they look cool, I guess, but they don't fit Batman at all, and they just feel very shoehorned in. I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. And oh boy, we're moving on to the big one here, the big finale, the final suit of the video, the Batman from 2022. And man, this suit is almost perfect. It has every aspect of this version of Batman implemented in the suit. It feels homemade, it's rugged, it's armored, but it's not perfect. It has vulnerable points. It has stitching on the mask. It has utility in the gauntlets having wrist guards and the batarang being a knife. I mean, there's just all these things in the suit that really fit this version of the character. He's very intelligent and very crafty, but he's not perfect. And that's exactly what this suit is. The only minor nitpick I would have to say is I think the cowl is a bit awkwardly shaped. But honestly, I don't even care. This suit is fantastic. And one thing I will also give it is I don't think any other suit design has fit their version of the character more than this one has. This is honestly just beautiful. I love the suit, and I think I always will. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, if any suit in this video deserves it, it's this one, 100%. And that's it. That's every bat suit from the silver screen ranked. And I gotta be honest with you, I loved putting this video together. It was a real blast for me, and I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, please be sure to let me know with a like, a comment, and subscribe. It really does help me out. It really helps the channel grow. So if you want to leave one of those down there, it would be really greatly appreciated. And with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.